are covering DOS bases. This is when you share with us your favorite plays in the following categories for tonight's MLB main slate. First base, which favorite are you backing this evening, Garion?
I'll go with the Red Sox. They're minus 145 on the money line against the Mets. Red Sox, obviously, one of the hotter teams in baseball right now. They're 5-0 in their last 5 games. They've also just been really good at winning games at Fenway Park. They are 35-16 their last 51 home games. So just in general, the Red Sox are in a pretty nice spot. The Mets have been spiraling the last couple of weeks after that big series win against the New York Yankees. The Mets also, crucially in this particular matchup, have not hit left-handed pitching well all season long. They have the 6th lowest OPS in baseball against southpaws. Eduardo Rodriguez has been up and down all season long, but all of the advanced metrics suggest that he's been much better than his ERA would indicate. So I'll roll with Erod. I'll roll with the Red Sox on the money line.
Okay, Nick, who you rolling with?
I'm rolling with the Red Sox as well, and Gary highlighted how the Mets have not been good against left-handed pitching, and that issue's carried into this month as well, as much as they've been a little bit better against lefties this month. But like you said, Erod has been better in the second half, as much as you look at his season-long numbers and think they're gross. He's largely performed better since the All-Star break. And the big thing for me, too, as much as Stroman has done well, all season, and I seem to get better in the second half, the Red Sox hit right-handed pitching well. And then the Mets, when you look at how they've done in Stroman starts, I couldn't believe this number when I saw it. They're 15-16 in Stroman starts. This guy's been pitching so well all season, sub-3 ERA and everything. They still can't win ball games behind him, so I have no reason to think they do differently tonight with the Red Sox playing as well as they have.
Matt, which favorite are you backing tonight?
I don't mind Boston either, and now I'm starting to get a little worried that this is too good to be true. I'm going to go with a different spot, though, that I like a little bit better with the White Sox in the afternoon in Detroit against the Tigers. This has actually been a phenomenon all year, regardless of who's pitching for the Tigers, where even when they're underdogs, they seem to get a lot of the betting attention. I don't really know what that is. Like, there was a while where the Tigers had a win streak going that was probably back in July, but even now, they tend to be one of the more popular teams as underdogs. Dallas Keuchel has not been good recently. I don't think he's a great pitcher, but I do think that he's probably run into some bad luck. He's reliant on balls getting hit at people because he doesn't strike anyone out, and I think he's just had a bad stretch where a lot of balls are finding their way through the gaps, and he hasn't been able to get the outs he normally gets. So I think he probably turns it around a little bit, but this is more about Tyler Alexander versus the White Sox offense. This is a really good matchup for them. So assuming the lineup comes out and we have the regulars in there, I think the White Sox are in a good spot.
All right, Nick, second base, which underdog are you backing tonight?
You know, at first, Jesse, I saw the Mariners going up against the A's, and then I was like, I don't want to back Steve's team. We've been hearing way too much about the Mariners all season from him. So then I looked a little bit further, and I saw on the West Coast, the Giants are technically underdogs on the money line tonight going up against the Padres. I know the Padres have not named their starter for tonight, whether they're going to do a bullpen start or whatever. But still, you got Kevin Gausman going against a Padres team that has won 2 of their last 10 games at a crucial point in the season for them. So I know Gausman has not been the same guy he was, before the All-Star break and everything, but this is not a sticky stuff guy. He is going to figure his whole deal out. And then the Padres bullpen, too, behind him has been rock solid. And I know he also just saw the Padres and didn't do well, but I like having a good starter going up against a bad team, or a struggling team, I guess we'll say in this case, and not a bad team, but then to turn things around against said team. And then, like I said, the Giants bullpen has been good, and I know the Padres has been the entire season, but they're kind of going in the wrong direction right now when you look at their bullpen too. So, and the Giants still have something to play for. They want to avoid that wild card game, so I'm going Giants as my favorite underdog.
All right, Matt, which underdog are you backing tonight?
So I know Shohei Ohtani has been struggling quite a bit at the plate lately. Only 1 home run in something like the last 2 weeks, but I think the Angels are in a really good spot against the Astros. Jose Urquidy is on the mound for Houston. I think he's clearly the worst starter in their rotation. They do have a really good, or at least a deep rotation, so it's not that he's a terrible pitcher or anything, but he's probably about league average. Packy Naughton on the other side for the Angels, a little below average, I would say. But they're just getting a lot of odds at home. This line actually has been trending down already, and it's not because people are betting the Angels. I think what's going on here is that Houston has been giving a lot of their main players days off here and there because they basically have the division locked up at this point. So Jose Altuve had a rest day last night. I think we could see Correa, Bregman, Alvarez, Tucker, one or more of those guys get the night off tonight. And I think this will be something that continues for the Astros throughout the rest of September, where they just don't need to push their starters to play every day because they basically have the AL West clinched already, or at least they're in really good position there. So I think the Angels should be smaller underdogs than they are. Worth keeping an eye on Ohtani. He needs to be in the lineup for this to be a good bet because he's been struggling, and we're getting later in the season. The Angels have nothing to play for, so maybe he gets a rest day too, and at that point, I don't really like this anymore. So it could be worth waiting to see if Ohtani plays, but I think this is just too long of odds for the Angels against an Astros team that's probably overvalued.
All right, Garion, which dog are you rolling with?
Yeah, I'm in complete lockstep with Nick through these first two picks. I will also hop on the Giants. To me, this really just comes down to maybe even the perception and the odds makers' perception of how Kevin Gausman has been pitching, because on the surface, it hasn't been good in September. He's got a 4.70 ERA across 23 innings in the month. However, in those same 4 starts, his xFIP is a flat 2 because he's got a 33.3% strikeout rate and a 10.7 strikeout to walk ratio within that span of time. He's actually been pitching exceedingly well, maybe some of the best baseball he's pitched so far in 2021. It's just that his BABIP and strand rates have been terrible so far in the month. So I think Gausman gets back on track against the Padres team that across the last 14 days has the lowest isolated power and lowest WRC plus in all of baseball. Like Nick said, the Giants still have something to play for, and while the Padres technically do too, it just seems like they're unraveling at the seams. So I'll take the Giants.
Matt, we're taking a trip to the hot corner here. We're on third base. Give me your favorite run line bet.
So it's still the Angels. I mean, I like the money line. The run line is just derived from the money line there. So if I had to give the honest pick, it's just going with the Angels again. I think that the other one I would lean towards, though, is the Diamondbacks to cover plus 1.5 against the Braves. And I like this from a money line perspective too, but even on the run line, I think it's fine. The Braves are likely going with the bullpen game with Jesse Chavez starting. We don't have full confirmation there. Luke Weaver for the Diamondbacks, I think, is not great, but the Braves are just a little bit of an overrated team who is in first in their division, largely because the other teams in the division have just struggled so much this year. I don't think the Braves are that great without Ronald Acuna, who's been out for a few months now. And the Diamondbacks do have some good hitters. They were not healthy for a while. Ketel Marte's back. Dalton Varsho has been playing really well for them. Josh Rojas has been fine. They have, I think, a decent offense. It's their pitching that really is the reason why this isn't a good team. But I think that there are enough good hitters there, home field advantage, that plus 1.5, even at minus 130, I kind of like it. And I like the money line for them too.
Okay, Nick, how about you, dude?
I'm going with the Reds run line against Pittsburgh. I don't know if Garion's going the same way. We'll find out in a second. But this one's all about the pitching in this one for me tonight. You got Tyler Mahle versus Mitch Keller. And Mitch Keller's a guy who I think we've all liked to pick on a little bit throughout the course of the season. Although he's done well this month, he hasn't given up a home run in any of his 3 September starts. And I feel like he's got to be due at some point, and he's going up against a team that he just saw recently. And I know that Tyler Mahle also just saw the Pirates recently as well. But again, this is a guy who's seen this team quite a few times this year, and he's done well pretty much every time out. So I'm not really worried about that. And then when you look at the bullpens too, the Reds have the clear advantage in this one. They have the best FIP in all of baseball this month as a bullpen, and one of the best whips as well. So I'm going to go with them run line tonight against Pittsburgh.
Garion, hook us up with your favorite run line bet.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Rockies plus 1.5 at home against the Dodgers. The Rockies are just one of the best home teams in baseball, so we're going to get plus money on the run line, even in what I guess would be perceived as a lopsided pitching matchup. You've got Julio Urias going up against Antonio Senzatella, and I think Senzatella just doesn't get enough respect. This is someone who for the season has a 3.65 FIP. He's pitched exceedingly well in Colorado, and he's allowed 2 earned runs or fewer in 5 of his past 6 starts. So I really don't think he's that big a detriment. And again, the Rockies tend to just not even cover games at home, win games at home. They are 35-17 in their last 52 home games this season. Obviously, the Dodgers are a very daunting opponent, and the Dodgers have something to play for, but I think this is a pretty nice bet at plus 110.
All right, Garion, how about your favorite game total to take us home?
So I'm going to go back to that Boston-New York game, and I like the under 9.5. We already talked about fading this Mets offense against a left-handed starter in Eduardo Rodriguez. And Nick also mentioned how well Marcus Stroman has been pitching as of late. In fact, his last 5 starts, he has a 2.07 FIP because he's striking out about a batter per inning, which for Marcus Stroman is elite territory. And he's also yet to allow a home run in any of those 5 starts. So he's just pitching exactly how you would kind of pencil in the 90th, 100th percentile version of Marcus Stroman right now. So I think this game stays under 9.5.
All right, where are we going, Nick? Favorite game total?
If we're talking game total combined between the two teams, then I'm with Gary on this one. But my absolute favorite, I'm going to go with the team total here, and it's going to be the Cubs scoring over 3.5 runs against the Twins tonight. They're going up against Griffin Jacks, and as much as we like to pick on the Cubs because, AAA lineup, blah, 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 all that stuff, well, they've been crushing right-handed pitching this month. Top 5 in OPS, ISO, WOBA against right-handed pitching this month, and they're 6th in WRC+. And then you look at Griffin Jacks, what he's done. No team has scored sub-4 runs in a Griffin Jacks start since August 10th. He's given up a home run in each of his last 8 starts, in multiple home runs in 3 of those outings. He just gave up 3 runs over 4 2/3 innings to Cleveland, and Cleveland ended up scoring like 12 runs in that game too. He alone has given up before last start 4, 4, 6, and 9 earned runs. And then when you look at the Twins bullpen too, we'll just put it not great.
All right, take us home, Matt.
So I wasn't expecting to have to do this, but I'm actually on the opposite side of what Nick has for Cubs and Twins, and it's not because anything that he said is wrong. I actually agree with all of that, but we do have a unique weather situation at Wrigley tonight. Wrigley's normally, it gets attention when the wind is blowing out, and it's a boost to offense. We actually have the opposite effect tonight, where we're looking at 15 to 20 miles an hour of wind blowing in, and specifically from left field, which I think is more of a problem for the Cubs than the Twins because their best power hitters are right-handed, Frank Schwindel, Wilson Contreras. So even though I don't think Griffin Jacks is good whatsoever, I think that some of those fly balls might stay in the yard just because the wind, which is especially relevant at Wrigley, just the way the field is designed. So I like the under at 8. It's at even money, which I think is a decent value. And it's really, I'm looking at the game total, not specifically the Cubs, but they're certainly a big part of that. I think the under is a value, and it really comes down to the weather more than anything. In a pitching matchup that I don't think is good, but I just think the wind at that particular ballpark is enough to keep run scoring down.